We share a lot of examples of like how important this is to make sure you're targeting the right schools. If you're doing outreach and no one's responding, like it could be because you're targeting the wrong schools, right? And so it also could be because your tape, they're watching the first three plays and it's the wrong three plays for what they're looking for, right? These two things alone are a huge deal. And like, I mean, we use different examples of players that we mentor, but Crete is a great example of this. And we might have used him recently, but he had no offers, was sending his game film out, not getting responses, and we tweaked his game film quite a bit. And within 2 weeks of tweaking his game film, he got his first football scholarship offer, and it was a Division I offer. And he's a junior, right? He's not even a senior, so it matters, right? And
Yeah.
having the wrong plays matter. How to get a college football scholarship, a series where we evaluate active high school football players, break down their game film, and let them know what level they have the best chance of earning a scholarship in. And most importantly, let them know what they need to do to get to the next level. And joining me today is our head coach here at Next Play, Brian Overton, who has over 15 years of Division I recruiting experience. So Brian, who do we have today? Break us down and share with us who we're going to be evaluating.
So today we've got a finally hopped over to the defensive side a little bit. Had a little run of offensive players there. So we've got a 2026 DN. He plays DN for his team, but we'll get into that here in a second. But he's a 2026 DN. I've got him around 6'3", about 220 pounds maybe. Good size kid, good length. Again, plays DN for his team. But I think he's got some real position flex as we'll talk about as we go through the tape. So like always, I'll preface it with some of the things that we put in the full evaluation, because this is not the full evaluation, but some things that we put in the full evaluation was an information slide. Again, you hear it a lot, but he needed to add an information slide in there with all that information, so we had him do that. And then we only had him shuffle a couple of plays, and I've got the tape already moved up to one of them, which was pretty far down in the tape. And it may not seem very significant, to most people, but I'll talk about it here in a second. So he had a couple of adjustments. He's got about a 2.5 minute tape. He's got some good stuff on there. So good player, good player. Just got to make a few adjustments here that I think will help him. Maybe help him get some momentum going in here to his senior year.
Awesome. Okay, cool. I'm ready to watch.
So we'll jump right
Position
into it.
flex. Just so
Yeah,
people know, position flex, the ability to play more than one position, right? And especially like
yeah.
college coaches, we get this question a lot of parents are like, well, my son, we don't know if he's going to play this position or that position or what position should he tell the coach. And we always say it's pretty straightforward. Like, let the coaches evaluate your film and they will tell you what position they want him to play.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I can't say it enough. A good evaluator can watch your tape. I don't care what position you're playing, and know with your skill set what you do well and things like that, what position you would be able to help them the best at. So like again, this kid's a defensive end. If he's on defense, depending on his size and his skill set, what he sees him do well, that may translate to another position. Depending, and again, this we don't talk about scheme much, you know what I mean? But it does go into the evaluation on what they do. And since this is a defensive player, what they do on defense, and what they ask certain positions to do, So he may be again playing defensive end for his team, but they may see some things that he does really well at defensive end that may translate to another position on their team schematically, that they think could really help them, maybe a year out if he got a little better at certain things. He may be a really good fit for that other position. So, again, you're right. We get a lot of questions about it, and we just tell our athletes and the parents just play the position they have you at as good as you can play it, and then let them figure it out. That's the best thing you can do. The better you are at the position you're playing, the more attention you're going to get, the more they're going to like that tape in particular, even though that may not be the position that they are projecting you as for them and their team and their scheme. So you're exactly right. So jumping into it here. So I skipped down to 220, about 225, I think it was here. And before I hit play here, so for defensive players, whether it's interior players on the defensive line, this is obviously an edge guy, linebackers, secondary guys. Coaches love to see turnovers, man. It's just it's a big play in the game. It's a momentum play. Some of them seem very minute, and sometimes people say, well, he was just in the right place at the right time. Well, yeah, but you still got to make the play. Like, I can't tell you how many times, on the college level, in games on Saturdays, where, I'm standing there on the sideline, I'm literally watching the play unfold, and it's like in slow motion, and the guy like fumbles the ball like right in front of our sideline. We've got like four guys standing right there that you think it'd be so easy for them to just jump on it or just fall on it. I'm not even talking about like pick it up and run. And out of nowhere, the offensive player is just playing harder than we are, and he flies in there and recovers it. You know what I mean? And it's still first down when it should have been going the other way. So, small stuff like that matters, and defensive coaches love to see turnovers. So, on this play here, I'm going to let it run. It happens pretty quickly, but it looks like the snap. I need to rewind it a couple times for everybody to get the
Yeah,
full.
what the heck?
It looks like he hits himself in the leg, which makes it more impressive. But this kid's got his head up. He's it looks like he's surfing. He's like a surf technique, so he's probably got the quarterback on this play. And so he's surfing, but he's got his head up, and he's got the wherewithal and the wits about him to see the ball fly up in the air, show good hands, catch it, and that's a huge play for his team. Again, it's not sexy. It doesn't look crazy athletic or anything like that, but that's a big play for his team, just to have the wits about him to see it fly up in the air, catch it, and he even ran for 5 yards. You know what I mean? So that's a big play right there. So we had him move that up in the order for all those reasons. Okay, and it was down
the quickness, the reaction too. Like he really reacted quickly. And I thought that was really good.
Yeah, he's just showing a lot of awareness. You know what I mean, coming across the line of scrimmage like that. And again, that's a huge play for your team that people may not thought a lot about. And again, it was way down at like 225. Okay, so that was one of the plays we had him move up for those reasons. And obviously, we explained it to him, on the full evaluation and the voiceover why that was important, just like I did here. So that was a big play for him. So he had to move that up. So now I'm gonna go back to the beginning of his tape where he had some pretty nice stuff here. And just kind of let it run, and we'll talk about him a little bit. Here you kind of see, you hear us talking about it a lot, just kind of running the hoop there. The defensive drill, you see at the combine, you see everywhere else where you run the hoop. He's got a big sack there for a big loss. You can kind of see his length there, and his girth in his lower half. Really good one right here. Really good pass rush here, getting skinny and running the hoop. And what I mean by getting skinny, let me explain this. I need to do a better job explaining the terminology sometimes, not just saying it. But what I mean by getting skinny is, so you're getting real good pass rush here. He's getting skinny right here. You'll see when I hit play again, you'll see that right shoulder start to go down. And what that does is that lowers the target. It lowers the target area for that offensive lineman to get back in it with his hands. Okay, if he stays up high like that and just keeps turning the corner, that offensive lineman can get a piece of him again and maybe knock him off his track. When he gets skinny, when he's running the hoop and drops that right shoulder, it lowers that target area so that offensive lineman doesn't have as good a chance to get back in it once he gets him beat. And so that's what I mean by lowering or getting skinny, and he's lowering the target area. You'll see him dip down and really defeat that block and make a big play again. You can see his athleticism there, running the quarterback down from behind. Sorry to keep rewinding this, but there's some good stuff on this play. And the other thing is, I've talked about it a couple of times on other tapes. I love seeing this stuff. When I was watching tape, I used to love seeing this. It tells a lot about the kid. Just watch his reaction after the play and the emotion he's playing with. Okay, it was very short. It was very quick. But I love seeing that in players after the play, playing with emotion, shows his passion for the game. All right, it means a lot to him. Okay. Shows a good redirect here on the quarterback. Some people may say, well, yeah, that's a 7-8 yard gain. But, yeah, he was running up the field and redirected to make a play down the field. So you see he's really active.
It would have been a way bigger play if he didn't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so on the flip side of it, as much as we're letting it run here, he makes some special teams plays that we had him put in there on the end of his tape. So I'll stop it right there and talk about that for a second. Just as much as we have guys, and this is just the importance of getting the eval done so you can get stuff like this done as well. It's just as important. And I've talked about it a little bit in the past, but probably need to hit on it again since his tape is similar. The other reason for getting this stuff done, like I started with a play that we had him move up, right? Well, we had a few plays in here too. There was two, I believe, that we had him remove. And then also we had him, like this special teams clip is pretty early. It's inside of a minute, in the play. And while it's a good play for his team, it probably doesn't need to be that high, or that
Right.
far up in the tape. So we didn't have him take it out, but we had him put a few special teams plays at the end of the tape because everybody does. I believe if you're a game changer on special teams, that's a big deal, and it's great stuff to put on your tape. That shows you're willing to do it and help your team. And as a freshman, a lot of times that's the quickest way to get on the bus. Make the bus and get on the field early is on special teams. So if you can put it on there, it's great. But it doesn't need to be early unless you're like a returner putting it in the end zone for touchdowns or stuff like that. Huge hits on defense or it's got to be a special play. So again, as much as moving plays up and getting them up in the order, we tell them to either move plays back or take them out because we don't consider them like a true highlight, and you don't want to water down even a good tape. I say it all the time, like a really, really good 2-minute tape will move the needle much more than a 3-minute tape, that has 4 or 5 plays in there that probably shouldn't be in there. And that's just how it is. You just get more bang for your buck. So I did want to hit on that as well, just because this special teams play came up here. That's the other important piece of getting the evaluation done. All right. And the other
We
thing
share
is,
a lot of I
go
know
ahead.
in these videos we share a lot of examples of like how important this is. Like not only how important this is to make sure you're targeting the right schools, because like if you're doing outreach and no one's responding, like it could be because you're targeting the wrong schools, right? And so it also could be because your tape, they're watching the first 3 plays and it's the wrong 3 plays for what they're looking for, right? So these two things alone are a huge deal. And like, I mean, we use different examples of players that we mentor, but Crete is a great example of this. And we might have used him recently, but he had no offers, was sending his game film out, not getting responses. And we tweaked his game film quite a bit. And within 2 weeks of tweaking his game film, he got his first football scholarship offer, and it was a Division I offer. And he's a junior, right? He's not even a senior. So, um, it matters, right? And having
Yeah.
having the wrong plays matter. So,
And to that and
whether
to
you
that
do it
point,
with us or
he was
someone
a
else doesn't matter, huh?
yeah. So everybody understands, like he's a good player. Like the kid Richie's talking about is a good player. He had good tape. It just wasn't in an order that would make you keep watching long enough to find that out. If that makes
Right.
sense.
Totally.
So again, and I went on a X rant the other day because we were going through these doing evals for guys, and I just said
Your
it
X
just
rants are funny, actually.
yeah, I just went nuts because these people are so supposedly promoting these guys on social media for them, and they're paying them to do it. But they're not teaching them how to fix their tape, and then they're complaining because they're under the radar and nobody's reaching back out to them. And then you watch their tape and you're like, well, yeah, his best 5 plays are 2.5 minutes into the tape because you didn't tell him otherwise. But anyway, that's for another show. But that goes to the point of what we're talking about. So again, we have him move some
Should
plays
we should we do
around.
that as a sh-
Huh?
should we do that as a podcast topic?
Let's do it. I mean, yeah,
All
it
right,
drives
let's
me
do it.
nuts. But so we have them move plays up, we have them take plays out, we'll have them move typically, unless it's a game changing play, like I said, on special teams. I paused it on this play because this is the other thing that we had him do that popped up a couple of times. You'll see on this play, he's not circled before the play starts. So the play's already moving, like he doesn't get circled until right before he makes the play. Okay, and I'll tell you why this is important. Okay, this is the very beginning of the play. See, you don't see him, and now he's circled. Okay, the ball carrier's already got the ball. You know what I mean? The play's already in motion. Okay, and he makes a good tackle redirecting. The reason, and I'll stop it so I can talk about this, and then I'll let it keep playing. But the reason that's important, specifically, guys, if you're playing in the interior, what I mean by that, offensive line, defensive line, the closer you get to the line of scrimmage, this is important because there's so many players in there. It's a lot going on. Okay. So if you circle yourself way before the play gets snapped, Okay, they can evaluate much more your technique, you know what I mean, your effort and things like that, and make sure that you're just not like falling into the play. Don't just assume they know where you're going to line up on every play. Okay, because I've evaluated numerous guys, obviously, that were really important to their team and were game records, so they didn't want to line them up in the same spot every time because of schematics, you know. So don't just assume they're going to know that you're going to line up on the right side of the ball every time on every snap. Okay, that's why it's important to make sure you get yourself identified well before the snap of the ball. Okay, and that came up a couple of times, so we talked to him about that as well. You know, on the longer evaluation. Okay. So again, as it runs here,
Oh,
you can see his athleticism, you can see his size. So I want to get into a little bit because of some of the things he does and his instincts and the way he can redirect. Sometimes you see here at the defensive end spot. See, that was another one. He was a late circle, but I think that he has some position flex, maybe standing up at linebacker, and may be more comfortable there in the right scheme if he stays about the same size. Now, if he keeps growing and he ends up being 6'3", 6'4", 240, 250 pounds, he'll probably stay as a DN. But if I'm evaluating him right this second, you know, in my mind, I'm having him, you know, as a slash type linebacker guy. For example, if I wanted to have this kid in camp, you know, I'm intrigued enough at a school where I like this kid, I like his athleticism, I like his size. There's no way he's leaving that camp without us working him out at linebacker right now. There's not.
yeah.
You know, he's probably going to do both at a minimum. Okay. And
So
you can
what
see it right
division
there a
do
little
you
bit.
feel like? Yeah. What
You know, you
division right now does he have the best chance of getting a scholarship in?
So right now we have him pegged at NAIA Division two. I think he's a really solid player. You know, at those levels right now. You know, with his size, and I know you know, it's easy just to run the questions right into you know, what he needs to do to level up. The reason I say, the reason we have him NAIA Division two, you just need to see more power and physicality and more violence at that size. You know, I'm not sure. You know, like you know his weight room numbers. You know, and things like that. That went back to that was the play we had him move up there. I'll just pause it here. But you just need to see more of that. You know what I mean? He's a little bit, you know, a little bit of a grabber right now. You know, and usually that you know correlates to power. You know what I mean, strength and things like that. But at that size, like he should be more physically dominant. You know, on defense. And
Because
again,
you know
that
at
may
that size, a lot of people are telling him like D1, D1, D1,
probably yes,
because of the size.
probably yes. And so but that's also why I say the position flex to an evaluator. Sometimes it speaks to your power and your overall strength. Sometimes it speaks to is he more comfortable at another position, i.e., like standing up, already on his feet, can see what's going on, and you can see he's got good instincts and reacts well in on a lot of plays. So it speaks to, well, will that speed him up, you know what I mean, and get him to the point of attack faster and have him more confident where he can really strike better, you know what I mean? That's a real thing too. So again, that's why I say, you know, it would not shock me if people wanted to bring him to camp. And, you know, obviously, depending on scheme and how they think he fits, it would not shock me if people wanted to bring him there as a linebacker. Because everybody's looking for long linebackers that can run. You know what I mean? You know, I don't care what division you're talking about. You know, so that's why I'm really saying on the position flex thing, I think that's a real thing for this kid because he does some really nice things. You just have to, as an evaluator for your school, pinpoint why you think certain things aren't happening either as fast or as physical as you would like them to have, and you can obviously do that through some conversations with the kid, but you can also do it, you know, if you're really interested in them, you know what I mean, in bringing him to camp and getting him coached up and kind of try to figure all that out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're just, these evaluations are super important and critical. And after freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year, you know, we highly recommend getting them at least once a year. So again, you're targeting the right schools, you're targeting the right divisions and potential programs that could actually offer you a football scholarship. And you also know what you need to do on your game film specifically. You need to show on your game film to level up and to be able to edit your film. So if you'd like to see if your son meets the criteria to get an evaluation from our team, I'll leave a link in the description below. And whether you get an evaluation from us or someone else, we just highly recommend it happens, and that you get an evaluation from someone who's an active Division I or Division II college football coach or recruiting director that's willing to spend the time to really break it down and go through it and tell you what to move around and what divisions you should be targeting and all of that, right? It's really important. It's coming from that level specifically. So hope you got value from this video. I read a stat. We only 21% of parents that watch our YouTube videos are actually subscribed. So if you get value from them, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification. We post an evaluation every single Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, as well as a podcast every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, and a video on every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific. So if you get value, make sure to consider to subscribe. We look forward to seeing you on the next one.